Hello and welcome to the week 2 preview episode of the Jefferson Mad Drinks Fantasy Podcast, the pod on a mission to normalise 8-team leagues. I'm Pete McManus and I'm joined as always by Ian Harrison and Halla Monk. How are you boys?
Evening,
Good
boys.
evening.
What a week one that was, from Jalen Carter deciding he hadn't had a long enough off-season and needed a bit more of a break, right the way through to JJ McCarthy finally arriving in the third and fourth quarter yesterday. That was a pretty good weekend of football.
Yeah, it was.
some.
It was really good weekend actually. Some really good games.
I quite like that.
I mean, the Bengals
That
Browns
is-
wasn't one of them, but
Neither was the Texans Rams.
I think
I
if we're
quite
going to
like
start
that
anywhere,
there's a selection now, though. Like because with Sky TV, other TV channels are available, but they're now playing two games, so you don't have to just sit there and watch just some tripe. You can go out and you can watch another good game, and you've also got Red Zone going on at the same time. So I enjoyed it. There's some really good games though.
yeah, to be fair to Sky, I know you were off the grid on Sunday, H, so you might not have seen these messages, but I laid into Sky just before the 6 o'clock game going, I can't believe they picked Jets Steelers. What a terrible game to pick, blah, blah, blah. And then he went on to be the
Best
highest
scoring
scoring game of the 6 o'clock slate. So I was like, and to everyone that I slagged it off to, I then said, well, I got that wrong, didn't I? So I held my hand up, but I was wildly off the mark.
yeah, well, we said lots of stuff last week that we were massively wrong on now. So,
Which
And that's
we'll
why
get
we-
into.
and that's why we love football, isn't it? It's like you can give all your opinions, you can look at all the stats and all the facts, and then when it comes to game time, and it just all goes out the window. And
It all goes
that's why we love it. Yeah.
And talking of fantasy football not being what you thought it was, I think we need to start with the game of the weekend.
Through the secondary, Henry to the end zone, touchdown. The power running of Derrick Henry for 30 yards puts the Ravens on top.
So you do all of this drafting, and then you've got this idea of what fantasy football is, and then what it turns out it is, if you're a UK fan, is you sat there at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, knowing that you're still awake, knowing that I've got to be up for work in 3 hours' time, praying to the Buffalo Bills to just do something to stop Derrick Henry. So I went into that game in our matchup, Ian, as I'm sure you know. Maybe you don't, H, but I went into that matchup needing Derrick Henry not to score 34 points. And I was like, I should win this. And the longer the game went on, the more I was like, I can't believe I'm going to lose. Not only am I getting about 2 hours sleep, I can't believe I'm going to lose this. And then he fumbles at the end, and I got away. I properly got away with it. Neither of us deserved to lose that matchup, but what a performance! And the Ravens, they baffle me. It looked so easy for 3.5 quarters. I don't know how they didn't win that game.
So I have a really funny story about the Derrick Henry fumble just before we move on. I was winning 151 to 100. I was losing 151 to 151 and a half, and he fumbled that ball, and I ended up winning,
Nice.
and I was delighted. It was a unreal. I won't tell the listeners what's been going on with myself, but I've not been very well, and I missed a lot of it, and I finally caught up, and it was just one of the best games to watch. That, even whether you watched it in the in 40 or the 60, it was class. It was incredible.
That just reminds me of that time some random guy lost a game by like 0.1 point because the quarterback kneeled down.
On a kneel
Oh
down.
no, I would have given up fantasy football if that had happened to me.
I think, and that's the frustrate. That is when I look at down my leagues, and I've got a great idea for an app, which I'll get to in a second. Which I'm more than happy to talk. I know Ian's got a few business ideas. I'm more than happy to talk about this in a public forum because I don't have the ability to put it together. So I just want somebody to do it for me, and I know the technology already exists. But I think when you're in multiple leagues and you're looking at your scores, it's not the absolute smashings that hurt, because you kind of like. So I I was playing UH in one of our leagues, and I benched Justin Fields and Breece Hall I just want to see how it goes. And clearly that was the wrong decision, but because they both scored. But I got battered by that much because I had Jamar Chase and AJ Brown and various other people in my roster. You scored well, I scored badly. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. It doesn't matter what I did on Sunday, I wouldn't have won that. It's the ones where I look at it and I've lost 128 to 124, and you think if you just played that player instead of that one, they're the ones that hurt at the end of the week and then hurt as the season goes on.
Yeah. There is some horrific ones out there. I had a stinker with one of mine, but when I look at it and I look at the players that I had, I was like, there's no way I'm changing it to bring those players. So one of them was to bring Keon Coleman in for, I think it was maybe DK Metcalf, and that maybe would have won me one of my league games. And I was like, well, Keon hasn't given me enough, but now I've got a bit of a selection with that one in the future kind of thing. But yeah, they're the ones that kill you. I don't mind. I'm similar to you. I don't mind getting smashed if I get destroyed, and it is what it is. There's no way I could have won.
Before we move on from Ravens Bills, I'm assuming you've seen, because I think one of the meme sites on Facebook and Twitter has shared it, the clip of James Cook running 50 yards, juking several people and getting to the 3-yard line, and Chris Collinsworth going, that was all Josh Allen, that. I think, my God. And I thought it live at the time, and I think a few other people have picked up on it since. And I understand when you watch the play back, he moves things around, calls an audible, all that stuff. But James Cook's still got a lot of work to do to get 50 yards.
I know, yeah. Josh Allen slid the O-line to the left and then threw the ball where the pressure came from off the right. And then James Cook did absolutely nothing after that throw.
Yeah, just caught the ball.
Just had a waltz down.
Caught the ball and fell down 50 yards further down the field somehow.
Yeah,
so
it was all Josh Allen. There is some absolute nonsense that Chris Collinsworth spouts, but there's loads, and I'm sure, you know, us three, we're part of the problem as well. Like, we'll spout nonsense, but to do it on a live broadcast and just completely rip all the credit away from James Cook for that run was ridiculous. Right.
Very quickly, do you want to hear my idea for an app? And it's designed around degenerates like us who are in like multiple leagues. What I want is this app, and the technology definitely exists. What it does is it takes all of your league information, and then when you sit down to watch Ravens Bills, it goes, right, you are, and it lists the key players and tells you how many leagues you've got that player in and how many leagues you're facing that player in. So you can kind of you get an overall working out of actually what you want to happen in that game. And then as the weekend goes on, by Sunday Night Football, so in this instance, it's like, right, actually, if Derrick Henry scores 20 plus points, you're going to be in trouble in 3 leagues. And it sort of summarizes it all in an AI version where you kind of go, right, yes, I'm in multiple leagues, and yes, I've got players on both sides, but this is my optimum. This is what I'm looking for.
I like it. I do like it.
And it's only like a bookie when the bookie, you know, you have all these different bets, and then the bookies have the technology to kind of go, right, the best scenario for us is a 0-0 draw with that player not scoring or whatever. So it's like the technology exists. It just takes somebody who knows what they're doing and is fantasy crazy to put it all together. Bengals, Ian, 1-0.
Never in doubt, was it?
7 yards on offense in the whole of the second half, though.
Yeah, it was tough to watch. I was actually impressed with RD on the inside. So our D line absolutely dominated their O line. Likewise for them, their D line destroyed us, which is why we only got 7 yards of offense in the second half. Our new linebacker, who I had doubts about, Demetrius Knight, he played absolutely outstanding. We were just a bit soft on the outside. We gave up a load of third downs. We had them like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 7, and we gave them first downs on just nonsense throws to the outside. So I thought our corners were poor, but everyone else on D was pretty solid, which impressed me, to be honest, because I wasn't expecting that. I thought it'd just be a shootout.
Good.
Myles Garrett, like, 3 sacks in a row was
Yeah, to
I-
get three
I started-
consecutive sacks, and one of them was nearly a safety.
yeah.
Like, it sent us back 20 yards in 3 sacks. I was like, this is a joke. Will someone please get a grip of him?
He was great on my IDP on the
Yeah.
bench for me in my
Oh,
IDP
you benched
league.
him. What are you doing?
I don't.
Benching Miles Garrett for.
I'll be 100% honest. I completely forgot to have a look at that lineup, and I have a feeling
It's
that
week one. It's week one.
yeah, but I'm in an obscene amount of leagues, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that one, and then scroll down to it. Luckily, I did have some really strong performances in there, so I ended up winning it, but it was close. I played Cooper from Broncos instead.
JTT on that point. JTT Matt texted me on Saturday or Sunday morning. He was like, "Your brother's entered our picks competition, and he hasn't selected any scores yet. I know we're only 2 games in, but I was like, right, I'll message him." He was like, "He's paid the money. He doesn't have to. Like, he's donated to the charity." And I think he's only in about 4 leagues and a couple of prediction competitions. So I was like, if this isn't a great start if you can't get them in for week 1. So
yeah.
So, H, you ready to concede the South as predicted from me a couple of weeks ago, or no? Big bet days to come.
So with the game with the Rams, I think it was. I said the Rams' defense is outstanding. I called it. I thought they were going to be a really, really hard team to break down. It doesn't help that the interception and the fumble, they're not on CJ. If you actually look at CJ's stats, I know he didn't get the most yards in the world, but he played okay. The stats don't do him kind of the justice.
He's a good player. He's just not Daniel Jones, is he? Let's face it.
But I think I personally think the Texans will come back stronger. It's just I thought it was a horrific matchup to get week 1. It proved it. One thing that I'm very I guess complimentary of was both defenses looked outstanding. Both defenses look like they are top in the NFL. To only give up 14 points and 9 points against 2 offenses where you could go, there's a lot of playmakers there. There should be something. I think the biggest worry is the running backs, because it just didn't get going at all. So I think that's the big concern. And at some point, they've got to turn to Woody Marks. You can't have Nick Chubb and Dare Goombawale and then go to Damian Pierce and then go back to Chubb, then back to Pierce, then back to Goombawale. Like, just pick someone, ride it, see if it's working, and then swap it. Don't just keep changing it after every other game or drive. Sorry.
We are sticking to time this week, so we've got 70 seconds. If there's any other points you want to make, Ian, about week 1.
No, other than some amazing games. Bills Ravens was fantastic to watch back. Really was.
Right. I will run for the last 60 seconds, and I will run you through my notes that I took. The Chiefs' end of half field goal, fired. What do they call it? A fire drill.
So good. Yeah.
59 yards.
Brilliant.
Then misses an extra point in the 3rd, which you could argue possibly cost them the game because of the way it goes from that point. So I was like, all the time in the world to hit 33-yard extra point, can't do it. I thought Mahomes played really well. I thought Justin Herbert was outstanding in that game. Brilliant, just really consistent. Tesla,
Just
what a catch.
Real quick on that one, though, it's amazing what happens when Herbert has people that can catch the ball. Go on, sorry.
He doesn't make the same highlight plays that Mahomes and Allen and Joe Burrow make, but he's still top level.
Sorry,
Tesla,
there is no way you're including Quentin Johnston as someone that can catch the ball after one good game. After being dogged.
Okay, it's amazing what happens when his receivers catch the balls that are placed into his hands. Okay.
One final point before we move on to Q2. with these new rules, if you're in special teams, if you catch the ball in the end zone from the kickoff and decide to bring it out, you're an idiot. 35 yards is a lot. 35, and I saw it loads of times. 35 yards is a long way. I appreciate you want to make a play, you want to make a name for yourself, but 35 yards is asking a lot, and most of them didn't get anywhere near it. Right, Q2 game day. I don't really want to talk about my game day team. So it didn't go. It was driven by Jalen Waddle and Brian Thomas, and it didn't go well. So let's move on from that. Ian, I believe you were a little bit closer to the money.
I was, 2 places outside the money. I just needed a couple of points from a couple of players. I had just an average week. I got 2 players really right, maybe 3 players I got really right. So I had Chase Brown as my captain, as we discussed. Not great, 13 points, which doubled to 26. My QB, however, was Penix. Obviously, there were better options out there, like Daniel Jones. Aaron Rodgers would have been a better one. Fields would have been a better one. Penix got me 24. Trevion Henderson, who didn't get as much work as I thought he was going to get, and as I'm sure most people thought he was going to get, got me 11 points off 5 carries and 6 receptions. ETN, someone I put in, someone I was bigging up last week, saying as someone to watch, went and proved me right with 18 points. Tyreek Hill let me down with 8. Drake London, 13.5. Egbuka got me 23. And then I put Njoku in for 6.7.
He let us down, didn't he?
He did let us down.
Every element of last week's preview show.
Yeah, I was right about the position, just wrong about which tight end it'd be.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I didn't think Fanning would do anything like what he did last week.
The thing with the Fanning one is, and I don't know if you remember me mentioning him on the rookie thing, whether you even were listening at the point of tight ends, but this is the guy that was in that played for the Bowling Green, and they played that you two were taking the Mickey out of.
I remember that.
Yeah, the Sunday League team.
Yeah, but he actually led college the year before in receptions, and I thought he could maybe do something. I do have him in a few leagues where he's in my taxes in Dynasty. And then I was like, oh no, they got Njoku, so he's just going to ride it out in the taxi. And then I watched him, and they ran a lot of 12 formation as well, load of double tight end plays. And I think did he not get the most targets on the Browns? I might be wrong with that, but it was pretty close. That he either got the most targets or was the second most targeted player. But it was just it was one of them where you go, oh, hold up. And then everyone is diving on him on waiver wires. And it's like, he was good, but it's only one performance. Like, I always find waiver wires week one a bit one of them where it's like, do I go against what I drafted for something that looked all brand new and shiny? And it's the same with, you could look at, for instance, I don't know who else is being picked up. Keon Coleman's probably being picked up a lot. I'll come to the worst trade of the season shortly for you, Ian. You'll enjoy that one.
Just back to game day. Unlucky, Ian.
Yeah.
You are going to pick our team this week though, because you did so well. I'm picking captain, and I'm going with Jamar Chase, who isn't cheap. He is 8,200, I think. So he isn't cheap, but I do think, having had a quick play about it, I think you can even stack him with Burrow if you want and still get a good team out there. But I think he is a massive bounce back candidate after last week. Obviously, I didn't watch the game as much as you did, but I think that Jags game, the Jags look good. They seem to disappear off red zone basically once they got 2 scores up, and like it was one of those games where they just were like, yeah, we're not going to show you any more of this. But I think the Jags looked pretty good against the Panthers, and I think that could be a bit of a shootout against the Bengals.
You do know that went to an hour delay weather break. That's probably why you didn't see it.
They were like, we're not showing this anymore. I was like, it was just the whole thing. The whole thing was just like, yeah, we'll just forget about that once it went to a weather delay, and they never brought it back. It was ridiculous.
But fair.
that's our game day captain for this week. If you want to get involved in game day, the promo code is
JMDFS.
That was it. I thought it had game day in it. Apologies to the people at game day. I am supposed to know that. JMDFS. And if you put that code in, you will get a free week on us or on game day. But thanks to us. Moving on, selection nightmares. H. We're going to have to quickly run through these because we've got one each and we've got a couple from listeners.
Oof.
So you've got basically a minute to take us through yours. Last week was JSN or McConkey. I think we both in the end, I think me and Ian were split on it. I sort of said JSN, Ian went McConkey. It was 19 against 13, not a much in it. JSN was the right answer. In fact, I've looked at your roster. The real answer was Michael Pittman, but you didn't pick it. So, who have you got for us this week?
I've got a slightly better one this week. So this is for my last wide receiver spot. So it's a 3 wide receiver league and 1 flex. But if I put it into context, my flex is a choice of Saquon, Gibbs, and Jonathan Taylor. So they're 3 set in there. But it's a 3 wide receiver league, and I've got Keon Coleman, who goes up against the Jets, who was 8 of 11 for 112 yards and a touchdown, or Ricky Pearsall versus the Saints, who was 4 of 8 for 108 yards, but no Kittle, there's no Jennings, and I mean potentially no Brock Purdy. So it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Ian made a face, which, if you're not watching on YouTube, already means we are splitting our answers again this week. Because to me, that's
brilliant. Cheers, lads.
He'll come up in Q3. I think this is a close one. I think he could play well. I would lean more Pearsall. I think he looked really good. I think they're going to have to use him. Their entire team is banged up one way or another. Christian McCaffrey got far too many touches at the weekend. I can't imagine that they went into that game wanting to give him the ball 30 times because that's not sustainable across the season. And they haven't really got anybody else to throw it to with Kittle out. So I think that Pearsall will be worked into the game plan a little bit more. I think he's the safer bet. Whereas I think Keon Coleman could have another 10 targets, could also just disappear.
Yeah, I do agree with that final point there that you made about Keon Coleman. But he is going up against the Jets defense that got absolutely destroyed by Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So if Keon Coleman gets 6-7 targets, he can still walk away with 100+ yards and a couple of touchdowns.
I think there's a good chance. Like I said, I think there's a good chance it's not a one-off for Keon Coleman. By all accounts, he was one of the stars of training camp and has really worked hard on his game. So I hope it is, but I don't know. We've seen this before with the Bills where one of them goes off and then you don't see him again for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that is true. But then again, maybe wait to see who the quarterback is for the Niners, because if it's Mac Jones, then you don't want none of that.
Yeah, fair point. Cheers, lads.
Ian, last week you brought us Darnell Mooney or Adam Thielen, and the answer was neither because they both scored 0.
Yes.
But at least Adam Thielen
played.
If you're in a league that counts targets, then or get points for targets, then Thielen would have outscored Mooney on the basis that he was on the field at some point. But what have you got this week?
I have got either, and it's 2 rookies in the same game.
I know where this is.
Do I go with Bill Krosky-Merritt or Matthew Golden?
I'm going with Big Bill. Big Bill looks like the first and second down back for the Commanders, he seemed to take over it as the game went on. I know Eckler got a lot of targets, which it feels like that could be Eckler's role, and they've now got set backfield of kind of what the share is going to be. I just don't. I'm out on the Green Bay receivers, even though they had a great game. I can't bring myself to do it. And Golden wasn't overly impressive either. From what I saw, I didn't see him a great deal. So I would go Bill because he was impressive.
I think Golden only had 2 targets, and I feel like Golden might be a bit of a stash play because I feel like it might take them 5 or 6 weeks to work him in, while Jaden Reed's there, and the other if I've sort of changed my opinion on Golden from I was completely out on him to being actually maybe he'll come good later in the season. But I'm with H. I would go with. I think the floor for Bill is higher, so I would pick him.
Sound.
That might be the first one we've agreed on. No, actually, it's not the first one we agreed on.
No,
mine last week was Egbuka or Adunze, and you both agreed to go for Egbuka, who scored 2 touchdowns and therefore was the right decision, just short of 24 points in our scoring format. Rome Odunze did get quite a lot of action, almost 6 points, but didn't get into the end zone. The Bears looked all right. I mean, I've only watched the game back in 40, but they looked all right on Monday night without being able to get over the line, which is very Bears thing to do.
There was a lot of missed throws.
Yeah,
like it was was not great. And yeah, go on. Sorry.
That's what he's going to do. So mine this week is back to 2 wide receivers. I've got Cedric Tillman of the Browns at the Baltimore Ravens, or Hollywood Brown against the Philadelphia Eagles, both of whom went for all sorts of points last week.
Oh, that's a nice one.
It's Hollywood Brown. It's not like there is no way the Chiefs have got a chance in this game if they don't use Hollywood Brown.
I was leaning Hollywood Brown. I'll give you my only concern. He got 16 targets last week. There's no way he gets anywhere near that this week, because that to me is the game plan was Hollywood Brown and Worthy, and then Worthy goes down injured, and most of the game plan therefore has to revolve through Hollywood Brown. They will work in Juju Smith-Schuster. They'll work in Noah Gray. They'll work in other people this week, but it's just whether that Eagles defense is better than they looked against the Cowboys.
Yeah, potentially, but it depends how long your edge rusher lasts. But
I think the key for me, why I would probably lean towards Tillman is I think the Eagles' defense is far superior. I think their cornerbacks are, especially after watching what Brown did, it's likely that he goes up against Quinion Mitchell for a lot of the game. So and even then, if he's not, he goes into the slot. He's up against Cooper DeJean. So I would lean slightly more towards Tillman, who did have a good game and was targeted quite a bit by Flacco.
Okay.
Sorry to split.
That's no help to you, is it, Pete?
Yeah, no. I am sorry to split that, but I just prefer I prefer Tillman. He's more of an explosive player.
Yeah, I like Cedric Tillman. I just don't think I can trust him because he plays for the Browns. That's literally what it all comes down to.
The only thing going in Tillman's favour is that the Ravens do give up a ton of points to receivers. Tons of points. Yeah. I think they rank bottom 3 against receivers. It's just
and it's a divisional game.
There is no because the Chiefs are going to want to make a statement. This is a replay of the Super Bowl. They're going to walk out there and go, right, let's just see what happens. They are going to have a game plan of either we're spamming Kelsey or we're spamming Brown. And chances are it's going to be Brown.
Yeah, I agree.
They are going to be mega aggressive.
You've convinced me. And that's the way I'm going. Before we move on, we've got a listener entry. Well, we had a few listener entries, so apologies we're not going to get through all of them, but we will do one from Razamundo in the JMD Montana division, which is one of our new Dynasty divisions set up this year. I like this one because it's 2 wide receivers in the same game on the same team. So he's got Terry McLaurin and he's got Deebo Samuel, both at the Packers tomorrow night. Obviously leaning towards Deebo because he's had a bit more of a preseason and wanted to stay away from McLaurin for a few weeks. Do we agree that it's Deebo again after a good week last week, or is McLaurin back to 2024 form?
I'm saying go with Deebo.
I'm leaning more Debo as well. I've always been a big believer in when you don't have the off season, it affects you unless your name's James Cook. But I would lean Debo. Debo played really well. He was involved in a lot.
He did. I was a bit down on Debo coming into the season, so he surprised me at the weekend. They looked, and the fact that he can be used in the run game, I think they will utilize that, because the Packers defense, I think, is going to be good this year, especially with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I agree. That's the reason I've gone with Debo, because you've got obviously the rushing ability of Jaden Daniels, you've got Eckler and now Bill Krosky-Merritt. Debo coming out of the backfield as well. He's just got so many options there to use.
Yeah. Right. Well, apologies. We've got a couple more here that we haven't got to, so we might have to drop one of ours or two of ours next week, but we will rejig that. We might put one. Well, we'll definitely put them out on the other one we'll definitely put out on socials, and we can do a bit of a poll and pick it up that way. Ones to watch time. We're all very meh last week.
What's that?
My ones to watch were all a bit meh, including Jalen Waddle, who I said I would be out on.
Yes.
I would like to point out before I confirm.
No, you just can't give it up, can you? You can't give it up.
No. Wait. I'm going to confirm that I'm out on Jalen Waddle, but I'd just like to say that if before last week I told you he'd outscore Jamar Chase and AJ Brown combined, you would have been like, what a game that is. And he managed to do that. He just only got 7 points. So I not only am I out on Jalen Waddle, having watched that game, and yes, obviously I'm going to big up the Colts, and I thought we were great, but I want absolutely nothing to do with the Dolphins until they can prove that they're not an absolute trash bag. So
yeah,
I was worried about
them. They might need a new manager. They might need to get rid of McDaniels.
I was worried about them pre-season. I'm even more terrified for them now. They could. I thought they'd probably get 5-6 wins at most. After that performance, I don't even see them getting that. They were so bad. Was it Tua had the worst QB rating since for the last 15 years in that game or something like that? It was something like 2.1. It was horrific.
Yeah, it was terrible. I'll quickly run through my ones to watch, because they've at least two of the three have kind of come up in conversation. So quarterback, I've gone Trevor Lawrence. Thought he was solid on Sunday from the bits I saw. And like I say, I think that could be a bit of a shootout. I still fancy the Bengals to win, but even more reason that Trevor Lawrence might be putting up points, chasing that down. He was 19 of 31, 178 and 1 touchdown at the weekend. Not amazing totals, but I think he's one to watch as somebody who's on waiver wires. Tony Pollard has to be used a bit more for the Tennessee Titans, so I like him back at their place, and I think the Rams might struggle a little bit more in that game. I think you've already pointed out their defense is good, but they left Cam Ward to do a lot against the Broncos, and I thought Cam Ward looked okay, but he's going to need Tony Pollard, and while Spears is out, I think he's worth keeping an eye on. And my wide receiver I was going to mention was Ricky Pearsall. We've already talked about Ricky Pearsall, so we'll move it on. Ian, who's your one to watch this week?
Right. You're going to laugh at this one, because my QB to watch this week is Caleb Williams.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say Daniel Jones then.
See? And you know what? I don't mind being wrong, especially when it comes down to fantasy football, because he plays more relevant, but I'm not saying he's completely useless. Finished his QB9 on the week with a line of 21 of 35, 210 yards, a TD, 58 rushing yards, and a rushing TD. Finally looked like he might be able to play at this level. I was impressed with. I know H said there was quite a lot of wayward passes, but some of his ball placement, the passes he did make, some of those passes were really good. But what really intrigued me was how fast he was looking on the ground. He made some really good decisions on when to hold on to the ball and just run. And he averaged 9.67 yards a carry, which just shows how good those decisions were. Yeah, he made some wayward throws. There was one to DJ Moore at the end, which could or should have been a TD if anyone else had thrown it. But I think he's had a pretty solid start to the season. And I'm not saying put him in your teams, and I definitely wouldn't put him in any of my teams. He's just someone that I would keep an eye on.
I'm impressed. You're growing. You're maturing.
Yeah,
Well done, mate.
Yeah, I am a grown
I
up.
can't wait for him to turn up next week with his painted nails.
Oh, mate, I hope he's terrible this week. My running back to watch this week is Carbonnet.
Yeah.
Zach Charbonnet, for those who aren't initiated in Carbonnet. He's not a player to be putting in your lineups just yet, but the reason to keep an eye on him is he took on a higher workload than Kenny Walker. For the first game of the season, I don't think anyone saw that coming. So is it a changing of the guard or is it just a one-off? Charbonnet didn't get a single target or a single look in the passing game. He got 12 carries, but he did get all the goal line work, which is where he got a TD. Kenny Walker saw 10 carries for 20 yards, but brought in 3 targets for 4 yards. Now, the reason it's worth keeping an eye on is Kenny Walker's in a contract year. So is it a case of the Seahawks seeing what we can do with Charbonnet as our running back 1 so we don't have to pay Kenneth Walker this year?
Okay.
Interesting one.
And then my wide receiver, we've already discussed him, Hollywood Brown. I've picked him up everywhere I can. And every league I've got him in, I've put him in my lineup because there's no way they're beating the Eagles without being aggressive.
I like that.
Like it. Yeah.
Don't like it as much as Cedric Tillman, but I like it.
The more I think about Hollywood Brown, the more I wish I'd gone for him in more leagues. When we were recording Wednesday night, did waivers last night, and I was just like, I wasn't enamored by waivers. But the more I think about it today, the more I'm like, I think I should have spent a bit more money trying to get Hollywood Brown, but we'll see. H.
My quarterback is one of my favourites, so I'm doing back-to-back favourite quarterbacks, and it's Drake May against Dolphins. I think it's a good matchup. I think it's a chance for May to show what he's got. I like the matchup. I think he's a good player. I've said it for a long time. He's a great player. I'm really interested in seeing how he develops this year a little bit more. My running back, I think pretty much everyone has dived on it in terms of waivers, and similar to Pete, I wish I had probably looked at waivers a little bit more. I've gone Javonte Williams just to see if he can go back to back, because he was the clear RB1. I invested a lot in Jaden Blue this offseason because I thought he could take over, and I know he was out. But there was a huge difference between Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, which
Sorry to jump in because obviously we're trying to keep it tight. But Miles Sanders did a very Miles Sanders thing in that he I think Ivory's first or second run, he just broke off a 50-yarder, and it was like, he looks a little bit more explosive than Javonte Williams. Then the next time he gets the ball, he fumbles it or had it punched out or something. It was the one where Dak basically saved a touchdown, which was a brilliant play from Dak. But I was just like, that's very Miles Sanders. Like 1 minute he's like, I'm going to be brilliant for you. The next minute, probably not. No.
But Javonte Williams, 2 touchdowns, looked good. So I'll ride with that one. And then my other one is it's someone that we did mention earlier, but I'll go through it a little bit quickly. Roman Dunes, he had 9 receptions this week. So it's a PPR. It could be something worth keeping an eye on to see how many targets he does end up getting every single week. I know he only went for 37 yards, but in PPR to get 9 targets, that's Alvin Kamara last year, where we go, that was a lot of targets. So just someone to keep an eye on to see how he continues to develop, especially in the new offense. I think there's probably a little bit more questions than answers, and that's why the likes of Caleb Williams and Dunes to come up in this conversation.
I like it. I like Roma Dunes there. Right. Ian, before we move on to your tight end, anything else to say on last week's tight end of David Njoku?
No, just repeat what I said before. Like I got the position right. I just didn't think Harold Fanning would make so much of an impact Even
Good
Joker
defense.
would have got the looks that Fanning got. It'd have been the right shout, but as far as my actual shout went, 6.7 points from Joker was pretty lame.
I like your cover for it.
Yeah.
It's a good explanation. Do you want to explain mine in a minute?
I'll try and find an excuse for you.
Who have you got this week?
So while the easy shout for this week would be Juwan Johnson, who ran an incredible 51 routes in one game, my tight end for this week, you'll be glad to know, Pete, is Tyler Warren.
It's the best
Who last
tight end in the
week
league.
went 7 of 9 for 76 yards and was PFF's Rookie of the Week with a 90.4 rating. The reason I'm taking him this week over Juwan Johnson is that last week he had an unreal target share of 31.03 from Daniel Jones, who used his rookie so effectively whilst demolishing the Dolphins. The reason he's going to have a better week this week is that the Colts are playing the Broncos. And as good as Pittman was last week, guess who's going to be covering him?
Pat Satan.
Yes, Pittman is doing nothing this week. So the only way Colts are going to do anything against the Broncos is by using Tyler Warren often.
Yeah, I like it. We'll get into the games in a bit. I think this has got come back down to earth game written all over it for Daniel Jones. And hey ho, I'm wrong. But I think our glorious start to the season might be about to end. But he went to Tyler Warren 3 times on the first drive. I think 3 of his first 5 pass attempts went to Tyler Warren. It's in the game plan. He obviously likes him. I think he's going to have a big year, so I like that pick. H, last week, a very solid, if underwhelming, performance from Jason Myers as your kicker of the week. 2 for 2 on field goals, 37 and 48 yards, 1 for 1 extra point, which in most scoring formats gives him 8 points. Who's this week's kicker?
I've gone with Cam Little versus the Bengals, and you brought this one up a little earlier about Trevor Lawrence having to go out there. For the Jags to win this one, they have to. I'm going to do Michael Owen here. You have to score more points than the other team, but to do that, you against the Bengals. The Bengals' main strength is their offense, and although the Jags defense did play well, it's a different kettle of fish that they're going up against when it's Chase, Higgins, Chase Brown, and then Joe Burrow as the quarterback. So I think that they're going to have to take as many points as they physically can. One of the things that impressed me about Cam Little preseason was the length that he has in terms of his kicks, because I think he nailed a 65-yarder, something like that. I think they're going, like any opportunity they have, they are going to have to take it against the Bengals. And if you are in a league where it is 0.1 per yard, like we are in a lot of ours, Cam Little could be the one that gets an awful lot of kicks this week, because I don't think they're going to find the dirt often.
So you're a fan of his length?
I do love good
you got in there before I did.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of good length.
Of Cam Little's length. Which brings me on to my defensive choice last week was the Arizona Cardinals. I would like to point out that I mentioned the Broncos and that it was a little bit of an easy choice. Had I just gone for the Broncos, that would have looked really good because they scored about 15, 16 points, depending on your scoring format. In most leagues, the Cardinals only managed 5 points. They gave up a few too many to the Saints and didn't really do what I thought they were going to do. This week, I am very confident. On paper, the Steelers' D wasn't very good last week, and but I'm working on the basis that Justin Fields just a little bit better than people think he is. I also think that they gave up 32 points last week, and if Mike Tomlin is about the only coach in the league who can win a game and still be irritated because they gave up 32 points and the amount of yards and everything else they gave up, So I think that'll be a focus for them this week. We've got the Seahawks traveling across country, which I don't like for a 6 o'clock kickoff. Always puts me off. And the Seahawks, whilst a little bit unlucky against the 49ers, only put up 230 total yards. I read a stat today that Sam Darnold threw for less yards in that game than he did for any game last season for the Vikings. So it's not exactly clicking. They are leaning on Charbonnet and Walker a little bit. That didn't, as Ian's already pointed out, that hasn't necessarily clicked either. So I think I fancy the Steelers for a bit of a dominant win, and I think Sam Darnold might get caught out trying to get them back into it. So the Steelers are my choice for defense of the week.
Yeah, fair enough. Just one thing on that. Like last week, I watched the Steelers back, and they just could not stop the run. Couldn't stop the run at all. So it could be a big week for Walker and Charbonnet if the Steelers don't put it right.
Into the last quarter, we are keeping it tight today.
We are flying.
After last week, when we went on for what seemed like about 4.5 hours, I promised we would keep it under an hour, and we are doing that this week. We have got another 4 primetime games to get through. I thought, on the whole, we were treated to a wonderful primetime slate last week. So 4 really good games. Let's hope that this week stacks up. Thursday Night Football, we have got Commanders at Packers. Any thoughts on that?
Well, other than a great game to kick the week off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What else needs to be said? Like the Packers had a huge statement win this week against the Commanders team that most people are picking to go deep into the playoffs. Packers with Micah Parsons going up against Jaden Daniels, nothing but excitement.
There we go. Fixing that. Sorry, I was waiting. I was that little bit of silence. I was like, H is going to jump in here because I could never shut him up. And then he's like, no, got nothing to say on Commanders Packers for the first time ever.
I was just expecting more. I was expecting more than Ian's great. Yeah, it's going to be a good game, I reckon. Like,
I'm really looking forward because I didn't. The joy of Red Zone is you get so much action in there. The only downside of Red Zone is you get to the end of it and you're like, I don't really feel like I saw Cardinals being a great example. I don't really know how well the Cardinals played at the weekend because again, once I mean they showed quite a lot of plays in the first half, and the second half they didn't seem to show much because not a lot was happening, or at least not a lot significant was happening. So they especially as Red Zone goes on, they obviously focus on the games that are closer and things are happening in there. So I thought the Commanders, like, they were clearly beating the Giants and they didn't really show much of it. So I am looking forward to seeing how they perform against the Packers because I think with Debo and that backfield that you already talked about, Ian, should be interesting. But I do fancy the Packers to win this. I think they're going to be on a roll to start the year.
Ooh, I've gone Commanders.
I have Commanders too.
I'm on an island.
I did have the Commanders going 16-1 this year, didn't I? So
they gotta keep winning. You're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong on any of predictions yet, but we are only in week 1.
No, Colts have got their 1 win out of the way.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Sunday Night Football is Falcons at Vikings. Currently praying for. I've spent the last half an hour before we started this looking for Drake London injury news because he didn't finish the game on Sunday. So that's the stage I'm at in my fantasy week. I mean, he got 15 targets before he went out, so he is a massive loss to my fantasy team if he's not available. But it looks like he's going to be okay. I think this is a tough ask for them at Minnesota.
Yeah, the Vikings D is a tough defense to go up against, and it seemed like McCarthy clicked towards the end of that game. Whether that is just it pressures on, I need to start ramping it up, or not. I don't know. The Falcons D could stop the Vikings if McCarthy is kind of as slow to get going as he was this week. So I think it's one of those really interesting defensive battles here, because there was enough of Penix and enough of Bijan and Drake London to get excited about, but there wasn't enough where you go, oh, H was right, like they're going to walk away with this division, because at the end of the day they lost to the Bucks at home. So,
mate, they could have won by 50 points, and me and Ian are never going to sit here after week 1 and go, I think H was right. So we're still only going to go, it's week 1. So don't get carried away. Ian, any thoughts? Falcons, Vikings?
Yeah, I got thoughts.
Okay, great.
I'm not going to tell you. I think the Falcons have got enough to win this. I really do.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the Vikings team that nearly lost to the Bears and Caleb Williams, and then managed to pull it back together towards the end of the game. I think the Falcons with Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts is finally here.
Did he have 8 catches or 7 catches on 8 targets or something? It was a good game for Kyle Pitts.
He arrived. The Falcons might have figured out what to do with him. I doubt it. It's just a one-off. I do think the Falcons have got enough to win this.
No, I think it should be a good game. It sets up to be a good game. Before we talk Monday night football doubleheader, we've also got Jags at Bengals. I feel like we've talked about. I've already mentioned. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I think the Bengals will win it. Anything from that performance on Sunday that worries you going into week 2, Ian, or are you just so happy that you want to know that like it can't really go wrong in week 2?
Yeah, I mean, thank God that the Browns kicker is just terrible.
There was some bad kicking this weekend.
Yeah.
Talking about the Falcons, Younghoe Koo is lucky to still be in a job.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
the Browns kicker missed a 30-yard field goal and an extra point, which handed us the game, if I'm honest. It's the luckiest win we've ever had. The only worry I've got is our O-line. Our O-line got absolutely destroyed just by Myles Garrett on his own. Like we got nothing going on offense, especially in the second half, as H has already mentioned. Our O-line is a huge, huge worry. I mean, there's no one on the Jags D-line that particularly worries me this week. But when we're coming up, against those elite rushers, I think we are really going to struggle to get things going.
I think you're underestimating Josh Hines-Allen and Trevion Walker. They both got double-digit sacks last year. And then on top of that, you've got Eric Armstead inside.
They'll get dealt with. It's
not a bad D-line, that.
0 sacks this week for the Jags.
Okay.
That's a prediction. We gotta get some good money on that. I'm assuming, Ian, you think the Bengals will win that one.
I do.
Do you agree?
Yeah. I think the Bengals offense is just a bit too strong.
We're all on the Bengals this week, and I've already pointed out that I think the Colts might come back down to earth against the Broncos, who weren't great, by the way. I would just point out on Sunday, I watched a lot of that game, and they did not look good. It was more that the Titans just kept going, we don't really want to win this game, so why don't you have it? So, and eventually they were going to make enough plays.
Yeah, Bo Nix looked pretty terrible.
Yeah. So, be interesting to see whether that was just a 1 week.
But yeah, you've had a bad game, aren't you? You can have a bad game.
Yeah. You got to knock the rust off in week 1. But
I'm
sure, Ian, as you've got us down to win one game this year, that you're going Broncos.
I am.
Yeah. I think the defense is too strong for the Broncos. There's a lot to like on their defense. And I think no matter who goes up against them, I think any team will struggle. Especially Dan Jones.
Well, you mean the best quarterback, the only quarterback to ever lead a team to score on all of their offensive drives? That quarterback,
yeah. Against one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, by the looks of things.
Doesn't matter. How many games did Tom Brady play? Never did it. How many games did Peyton Manning play? Never did it. Patrick Mahomes? Never done it. Drake May? Definitely never done it. Daniel Jones, 7 plays, scores 7 times, including a couple of rushing touchdowns. taking him away from Jonathan Taylor. Just give the ball to Jonathan Taylor, you muppet. So, right, we've got a double head. We've got the double header Monday Night Football, which are quite. I'm not a massive fan of Monday Night Football double header. What I do like about it this week is it's 3 hours apart. So I don't know if you remember this from last year. They did this last year, and the games are about an hour apart. They just kicked them off, like one at 2 and the other one at 3, and I was like, well, 2 and 3 for us. I was like, that's no good. But this should be Bucks at Texans will then eventually, well, should be coming to a close just before Chargers at Raiders. So start Bucks at Texans. It must win time for the Texans. It's all going to start unraveling pretty quickly if you don't win now.
Yeah, week 2. So this game, when we played them, I think it wasn't last year, it was the year before. It was an absolute shootout. I'm really looking forward to it. I think Texans will be a little bit better this week. Hopefully, the right guard that went down injured will be back. The problem is we've now got the person who led the team in receptions is no longer fit. He's gone on to IR, which is Cade Stover, the tight end. And our starting centre has gone on to IR as well. So there's already dramas, but I'm quietly confident that we can get going. I think I've mentioned it a few times, but I think our defence is strong enough where we can make a real tight fist of games. Like the Rams, realistically, their offense is a good offense, and we held them to 14 points. So even with Baker baking, I think it's going to be I think Texans could sneak this one.
I think it should be a good game. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can call it really. I think with a lot of these games, when it's like that, the thing that would worry me from your point of view is that it doesn't come down to the defense, it comes down to the offense and who's going to make more plays. And I just fancy Baker Mayfield to make a few more plays than CJ Stroud.
No, I agree. I think he's got more at his disposal. Like the Texans haven't established a run game, don't know what's going on, who's leading that backfield. You've only really got Nico Collins at the minute. I know Higgins looks all right in flashes. I just think the Bucs have got way too many weapons to not put some points up against you.
I don't dispute that. I just think the Texans will get going a little bit more. But you're entitled to your opinions that are wrong.
And the last game of the week is Chargers at Raiders. Raiders look good. Hopefully Brock Bowers, or at least hopefully for them, Brock Bowers is all right. Obviously didn't finish that game. And then they've come out with the whole, he's just day to day. It's like, which is a term I think should be banned from the NFL, because it's like, well, that doesn't give us any information whatsoever. That's almost
day to day with a knee injury.
Yeah. So hopefully he's all right though, because Geno Smith and Brock Bowers seem to have a good connection. Myers, while he's still there, he had a good game on Sunday. Even the other tight end whose name has escaped me, had a few catches.
Michael Mayer.
That's the one. I knew it was close to Myers. But having said that, I thought the Chargers were really, really good. And I know we all picked them to win the division. We needed them to beat the Chiefs on Friday. If they're going to do that, I think they did that and deserved to do it. And I think it'd be interesting to see on the road against another divisional opponent how well they get on against the Raiders.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be a belter. I have the Chargers winning it, but
so do I.
Yeah, I've got the Chargers winning that. But I think, does not feel like we're getting a ton of divisional games early in the season?
Yeah, it does. In key spots as well. I think we talked about it last week about the Chiefs Chargers on the road in Brazil probably shouldn't be a divisional game. But I think this is another reason why the Chargers kind of need to beat the Raiders, and obviously they're gonna have, if they want to win the division, they're gonna have to put up 12 wins, probably 11 at least. But I think you've got the win over the Chiefs. You've then got to back that up against the Raiders, or if you 1-1 after those two games, it doesn't really matter that you beat the Chiefs, other than the fact that you've got the slight head-to-head advantage. We have got 20 seconds left if we're going to keep this under an hour. So clearly we're not going to keep this under an hour. But very quickly, we don't need to really focus too much on last week's touchdown treble. First time we've done it. And Njoku, Andrews, and Gibbs, to say we were slightly let down would be a disappointment, because would be an understatement, because they all let us down. Even the more solid option of Gibbs. This week, give me your touchdown guarantee, Ian, quickly.
Well, I'm going with the tight end again, because you get more money for them. And I'm having Jake Tonjes from the 49ers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kittle's out, gone onto IR. Last week, Tonjes got more red zone targets than any other tight end, with 2. But he did bring. But he didn't play the full game, remember? Kittle left in the second quarter. In a game where you'd expect the 49ers to run riot over the Saints, his opportunity for scoring could be through the roof this week.
Okay, like it. More left field than I expected. H?
That was wild. I'm going to jump on the Javonte Williams hype train and go, I'll take another Javonte Williams touchdown this week against the Giants.
I don't want Javonte Williams to score touchdowns. I got so irritated watching that game. Obviously, I've got a lot of investment in Dak Prescott, and I mean, for those who didn't watch the game, he throws a pass to CeeDee Lamb, who gets him down to about the 7-yard line. He then, from the next play, throws. He's got CeeDee Lamb one-on-one, throws it up, and the defender just goes, "No, I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to rip his jersey off." So I gets the DPI, offensive pass interference, and then so then they're on the 1-yard line. So then he just hands it off to Javonte Williams. I was like, that shouldn't have been your touchdown. CeeDee Lamb's got you 60 yards down the field, and you get to punch it in from the 1 yard. Absolute breaker. I think the Bucs will sneak it against the Texans, but I think the Texans have to put a point. So I'm going Nico Collins to get on the board this week as my touchdown guarantee. That's us.
Okay.
Just over an hour.
Only just
2 minutes, just over an hour. So, which I'm sure everybody enjoyed. If you want more of us, or if you want more of me specifically, and you're in any of our JMD leagues, I have just put up a JMD league, JMD and JTT league review. You'll notice that we used to do that in quarter 2. We've taken that out and we've put that in a separate pod. Go easy on me if you don't like it. It was the first time I've ever done it on my own. I thought it was hard work talking to you two. Apparently, it's more hard work talking to yourself for half an hour. So I've got a lot more respect for anybody who does solo pods now after doing that. So yeah, have a tune in and listen to that. Let me know what you think. All feedback welcome as usual.